Call the Caroline County Board Supervisors meeting to order. Board members present this evening is Mr. Black, representing the Western Caroline District, Mr. Taylor, representing the Port Royal District, Mr. Underwood, representing the Reedy Church District, Mr. Seeley, representing the Bowling Green District, Mr. Thomas, representing the Mattaponi District, and I'm Wayne Akers, and I represent the Madison District. At this point, I'm going to ask Mr. Taylor if he would lead us in our invocation.
Certainly. Let us bow our heads, please. Our Father in heaven, we come to Thee at this hour thanking Thee for the blessings that Thou hast given us. We thank Thee for this opportunity to meet and to try and fill the needs of the citizens of this county. We ask Thee for wisdom and guidance, and we ask that we be able to do those things that prove to be in the best interest of those that we serve. These and all the blessings we ask in the Lord's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Boy Scouts, you want to come forward and
Come on, guys.
lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Takes them a while to get here. You should have let them start when they were wanting to.
Everybody in position?
Y'all ready?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Opening board comments. First of all, let's have amendments to the agenda. Mr. Pardon?
Mr. Chairman, the only proposed amendment to the agenda is that we add a closed meeting under Section 2.2-3711A7, Legal Counsel.
Okay. Is there a motion to amend the agenda to add the closed meeting, Section 2.2-3711A7?
So moved.
Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Black, seconded by Mr. Underwood. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. And the motion is carried. Opening board comments. Mr. Black?
None at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Taylor?
I would just like to remind the citizens of the county that there is money from the federal government to help in weatherproofing homes and into making of home improvements. There was a meeting on the 31st in Bowling Green, and there will be another one on April 14th from 9 to 11 at the Port Royal Fire Department. And citizens feel that they might qualify. There are instances where a citizen can receive up to $6,000 in a grant, provided they qualify. So I'm just reminding the citizens that that might be something they want to take advantage of. And as I said, there is a meeting on Saturday, February 14th between 9 and 11, and there will be people at the Port Royal Fire Station to help. April 14th between 9 and 11, and there will be people at the Port Royal Fire Department to assist citizens in qualifying for those grants. That's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Underwood?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple comments. Next week, I have a constituency meeting on the 10th of April at the Dawn Library from 7 to 8 for the Reedy Church District, and then on the 11th from 7 to 8 at the Visitor Center from 7 to 8. My final comment, Mr. Chairman, is I just want to say to this board, I appreciate the last two work sessions that we've been in. Certainly, I've learned a lot, and certainly it was a pleasure listening to the passion and the discussions about how we can make Caroline County better. It's one thing that we always don't all agree, but I can see the passion for the county, and I'm pleased about that. So I'm proud to be a member of this board.
Thank you, Mr. Underwood. Mr. Seeley?
I have none at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Thomas?
No, sir.
The only comment I have is Thursday, the 5th of April, I will have a constituent meeting in Lake Caroline. I don't see any people from Lake Caroline here tonight, but I will have a constituent meeting, and staff will be there with me. All right. All right, the next item is presentations and reports, and the one we have this evening is Don Mills, which is the author of The Heritage of Caroline County, Virginia. Mr. Mills?
Thank you, gentlemen, ladies. Correction, I'm not the author.
Ah, okay.
I'm only the publisher. I'd like for my friends to stand. These are among several authors. Okay? Thank you. These are the authors.
Ah, okay.
And then look around the podium here at each other. You are the authors. Wait a minute. Does that work? Well, yes, it does. I don't know if you've ever heard of or been to Westmoreland County. Any of you? Okay. I was just looking. It was 30 years ago that our company went to the Board of Supervisors excuse me, in Westmoreland, Montrose. Times were different. 1981. Sorry, it was 31 years ago. They simply voted to write a history of Westmoreland County. Well, the next step was to hire an author. That was not a problem. They simply wrote a check. Do any of you remember those days? It's been a long time. Walter P.D. Norris was the one who was elected and appointed, I should say. We interviewed several. He was hired. And so he wrote the history of Westmoreland. But our approach in Caroline is a little different. We're going to write the book, The Heritage of Caroline County, from the perspective of the people of Caroline. In fact, we're inviting all residents, all citizens of the county, to write a story about their family, present a picture at no charge, and these will be printed, as I say, at no charge to the families. Book purchase is optional and additional. With your permission, gentlemen, I'd like to bring a couple of sample books to the podium. Alan, would that be all right? Towards the back of the books, with the exception of Westmoreland, you'll find the families. Family stories, family photos. As I said, our Caroline project is different because we feel that everyone has a story to tell. And so that's why we're inviting everyone to submit an article. Alan, would you mind, Mr. Pardon, handing those brochures down? gives you a summary of what we're doing, who's involved. We'll say the deadline has been extended, so we have a little more time. Alan, you never promised an allotment of time, so I'm just about finished. I thank you for the opportunity. Tonight, gentlemen, I'd like to obtain your encouragement at the least and your endorsement at the most for this project. Notice in Prince Edward County, the Red Book. Who has that? Mr. Taylor? No? Mr. Underwood? On page 3, could you indulge me? Page 3 or 5, as memory serves. It shows what the Board of Supervisors in Farmville, how they got involved. Charlotte County has the same thing, I think, on page 3. Who has that? Simply, it's a proclamation from the supervisors. Yes. And you wouldn't believe the, the upsurge in interest and participation when we received that encouragement from the supervisors. There was no cost to them. I've taken the liberty to print a proclamation from another county. Let me run back up, Alan. I brought photos of the Tatnall group, but I won't take the time of the board to share. I want to entertain questions, comments, suggestions. We want this to be a book available to and written by all Caroline County residents. Your thoughts, gentlemen?
Questions or comments of Mr. Mills? You know, as I looked through this brochure, I
Yes, sir.
happened to see my grandmother and grandfather on the very back
Good.
Of this, so it was a surprise.
That's
But
the idea.
I certainly have no problem in encouraging you to go forward with
Thank you.
this process. As one board member, the other board members speak for themselves. I think it's much information we can get out about the heritage of Caroline County, the better off we are.
Thank
I have
you,
no problem with that.
Mr.
Any other board
Baker.
members have comments?
I would just add that in this day and time, there's always a lot of emphasis on families looking up their roots and finding out from whence they came, and certainly learning more about their family history. And I can certainly see this as being one avenue where they could get assistance. So hopefully residents will buy into this, and certainly it will be a learning experience for all of Caroline.
Thank you,
Any
Mr.
other
Kelly.
comments?
Mr. Chairman, I can only say that I don't think you know where you're going until you know where you came from. So I think it's a good thing to know your history.
Yeah.
I would like to say, I'm Kathy Birchall. I'm the sort of in charge of the family history bunch, and many of you know me. I taught for many years in the public school system. Almost as soon as this thing went on, the advertisement went on, I got a phone call from a library, State Library of North Carolina, and they said that they wanted it as soon as we got this book out, and they said people come in and use them all the time to do research and to do history. Now, when you write a family story, you realize that you can sort of embellish it. I've already embellished mine. But but it's a starting point, and there are other resources available. You can use this as a starting point. And if you haven't heard about it before, I'm sorry. I've called everybody I know. Ollie's emailed everybody she knows. We've talked to lots and lots of folks, and we're just having trouble getting the word out.
Thank you. Helen, I saw your picture in there several times, and Mom and Dad's too. So, from Ladysmith, that's great.
Thank you, gentlemen. Ladies?
Thank you. Appreciate you coming out this evening. You want these books back?
Yes, if you don't
Okay.
mind. Thank you.
Brochures. You don't want one?
Yes, I can.
It's not all bad. This is not all bad. Yeah, that's my grandma. Hold on. I understand. That's no problem. All right, we're going to, if you would, we're going to skip over the appointments until after the public hearing on an ordinance concerning expanding the Board of Zoning Appeals. And we'll go to the consent agenda. Is there an item on the consent? Does anyone want to pull one of the two or both of the items on the consent agenda tonight, or are we willing to let them go as they are? All right, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Black, seconded by Mr. Taylor, that we approve the consent agenda as presented. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion is approved. The board will take a, we will reconvene at 7:30.
We could have done that 10 acre. Oh, that's.
The Caroline County Board of Supervisors meeting. The next item on the agenda is public comments. And at this time, we will allow any citizen to come before the board and make comments that does not relate to a public hearing that will be held later on. Before we do that, Mr. G., I do want to say it's good to have the Boy Scouts with us this evening, and we certainly heard them and had them to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. They are here to for merit badge, yes, and so merit badge, and we appreciate them being here today. They indicated that one of the things they wanted to hear from was opposing views, and as I told them, I thought no question before the night's over, there's going to be a lot of opposing views that will be expressed. But it is good to have you, and we appreciate you being here, and good luck in your endeavor in getting the merit badges that you need. And we appreciate the sponsors as well for what you do with the young people in this county, and we appreciate you a lot. All right, public hearing, or the public meeting, public comment period is now declared open. Mr. G., good to see you. Missed you for quite a few weeks here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Frank G., Bowling Green District, and unfortunately, the Spotsylvania County Board of Supervisors meets at the same time you do, and I've had a couple items before them. So,
I understand.
Sorry I could not be here, but I recognize that you have many important decisions you're going to be making in the next several months, and a lot of them are financial issues and going to deal with the welfare of the county. And there's one very important financial issue I just would like you to consider. And I appeared before the school board last night and talked with them, and that's concerning the pre-K through 5 school here in Bowling Green. That has been the topic of discussion for many months now. As you're probably aware, the school board went back out for bids, and they had 9 bidders. The low bidders were very close to each other in bids, and they're in the process now, as I understand it, of working with the contractors to refine those things and come back in to you guys with where they'll be. After looking at all the numbers and without any assessment based on what I heard last night, I still think they're going to be about $400,000 short of being able to provide a school with a gymnasium for 900 students. So essentially they're at the same situation they were last year in November and December, in which after the negotiations, the figure they needed was $10.8 million. They're probably going to be about that same figure now, but I don't know that for fact. They're in the process of working, and I'll move back a little bit, so that doesn't a thing. So my plea is, and my plea for them as well, was for the 2 boards to get together and please solve this problem for the parents and the teachers in this area so that they can have a school that they can be proud of. And I recognize the dollars are tight, and I would urge y'all to work together to see if you can get things so that the school can be provided for 900 students with a gymnasium. I will give you a little hint. If you closely look at how you may deal with some of utility debt and issues, by establishing utility districts, you may find there are some dollars that can be gained in your process. And I may be saying things that may not be good, so I don't know. So please look at working together with the school board to provide the school, and also as a side at establishing utility districts to deal with some of your utility debt issues. So I thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. J. Appreciate it. Is there anyone else who would like to address the board on any issue not related to a public hearing to be held later in the meeting?
Good evening. My name is Marie Kay, and I'm involved with number 4 on the agenda.
And if you would, wait until,
Sorry.
can you wait until that item comes before the board?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Not a problem. Just
Yeah,
let me know.
okay, if you would.
Good evening. My name is Les Stanley from the Bowling Green District. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
Stanley.
And Mr. Parton, I'd just like to say that thank you for doing such a great job in guiding the county with the Board of Supervisors. I know we've got a new county administrator coming on board, but you've done a terrific job, and I just want to say that my opening comments, that thank you. I know it's you'll probably be glad to be back to being the assistant county administrator, but again, kudos to you. I do want to say that the utility fund last year ended with a $1.3 million deficit. And basically, the utility department and the fund is hemorrhaging money. With less than 600 users of water and sewer, if you divide 600, and they have less than 600, but let's divide 600 into 1.3 million, you get over $2,100 that the general fund is subsidizing the utility. You need to look, in my opinion, at a long-range way of fixing that. And I know there's a lot of issues with that. But that's something each year, if it continues to hemorrhage like that, it's very costly. You will have a new wastewater treatment plant coming on that has office space for county offices. And a lot of people weren't aware that there were going to be county office space at that new wastewater treatment plant. And when this comes online, you're going to have more debt service. And that is an issue. Now, the county borrowed $5.5 million to help get the YMCA built in Ladysmith, and we've been told that no county money will be spent to build it. I know that $75,000 came from Union Bank. My understanding is that that's been used for architectural fees. And I'm wondering where the rest will come. I know that their proffers that Ladysmith Village is going to give, and I believe it's $250 for each lot. And if you multiply $250 times all the lots, let's say they totally build it out, which I think all of us know is not going to happen right away, it's still less than $900,000. So my concern is, where's the rest of the money going to come with, and especially in this economy? Who knows if and when Ladysmith Village will build out? It might be good to get an update to citizens of what's being done to raise money. I would hate to see the citizens of Caroline County have to pick up the tab for the YMCA. We just can't afford it. I also want to mention that county employees have had no raise for 4 years. They did receive a bonus, and that was nice, but they were furloughed. They also had a 1% cut. Some at another level they actually had a 2% cut. And when can they expect a raise? With all the debt service and everything that's going on and taxes being raised, again, looking down the road, when are we going to be able to do the right thing by the hardworking, dedicated employees here in the county? I do want to mention that it's easy to stand here and throw things, and you have a very, very difficult job. But you may want to involve the planning department in some of your capital improvement projects as you plan for the future. I think the planning department does a great job, and they may be able to help with the CIP. I know in years past they've done that. So I hope that you will consider that. Thank you, and I hope you have a pleasant evening.
Thank you, Mr. Stanley.
Melissa Lewis, Bowling Green District. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and gentlemen of the board. I stand before you to tell you we can't cut our budget enough. We can't cut our budget to success. We need to raise our taxes. But sit up there and be honest. We are a county of sensible people. Look us in the eyes and tell us you need to raise taxes because you chose to pay interest only on loans for years in hopes that the economy would turn around. But when it didn't, and now principal payments have become due. Tell us you're raising our taxes because you have decided that the wastewater situation in Dawn is a public health issue that you believe the county is responsible for. Tell us you are raising taxes because of increases in VRS and health care for county employees, and because you need to restore pay to those county employees. Tell us you're raising our taxes because you lowered the tax rate at the height of the of the market, when property values were at their highest. Tell us you're raising our taxes because the county's cash reserve was transferred to public utilities instead of saving that money to get us through hard times such as these. Tell us you are raising our taxes because you are unwilling to consider sanitation districts. Simply stated, tell us you are raising our taxes because you didn't plan for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis. Is there anyone else who would like to address the board on any issue not associated with the public hearing that will be held later in the meeting? Is there anyone else who would like to address the board on any issue that is not connected to public hearing that will be held later in the meeting? Hearing no further comments, the public comment period is declared closed, and we'll move on to the next item, which is public hearings. The first public hearing that we have this evening is RZ-04-2011. Mr. Fincham.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, your first public hearing tonight is RZ-04-2011. R207 LLC owner, Alan Shia applicant. They're requesting a rezoning from M1 industrial with no specified density to B1 business, again with no specified density, on a portion of tax map 82-A128 and a portion of 83-A-11. The property is located on the east and west sides of relocated Route 652, also known as Carmel Church Loop, at the intersection of McKesson Drive in the Mattaponi voting district. The proposed rezoning is for commercial uses. The 2030 comprehensive plan identifies this property as being located within the Carmel Church community plan and designated for office and industrial with no specified density. For the benefit of the 3 new board members, I'm going to actually go back to the previous rezoning, which is under the unfinished business tonight. Back in 2008, there was a rezoning request on some of these same parcels of land to rezone that land from rural preservation to M1 industrial. This is the property that is primarily on the east side of 652 behind McKesson, between the new McKesson facility and the railroad tracks. At that time, there was discussion by the Board of Supervisors about the need for a site for a fire station in case the original fire station proffer with the Belmont project did not come to fruition. As part of those discussions, the board rezoned 2 of the 3 parcels for industrial and held out 1 parcel until the second subsequent rezoning came to the board, which is before you tonight. It was basically the board's, the ability of the board to negotiate the fire station proffer that you have included in your packet on these parcels of land tonight. The applicant has subsequently come in on these additional parcels of land requesting the rezoning from M1 to B1. Part of this is necessitated by the construction of McKesson Drive, which left a small strip of industrially zoned property between McKesson Drive and the existing B1 zoning along Route 207. So there was a strip of land that you would have had split zoning on parcels within that area. The rezoning also involves land on the west side of Carmel Church Loop, basically between Carmel Church Loop and the Valero gasoline station. So that B1 zoning is what this first public hearing is about tonight. We've reviewed the proffers to ensure the consistency between the previous rezoning application and this rezoning application. You noted in my staff report that I had identified there were still some discrepancies between the level of service proffers. That has been corrected, as well as the buffer request that Mr. Thomas shared with staff prior to tonight's public hearing. So all that language has been incorporated in the proffers. Hopefully, that in a nutshell explains how we got to this point tonight.
Questions of Mr. Fincham before we open the public hearing? Mr. Fincham, it does not appear to be any questions prior to the public hearing. Thank you. At this point, the public hearing is declared open. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of or in opposition to this rezoning request?
Yes, I'm Marie Kay, and I am the property owner adjacent to the property being requested to be rezoned. And I have given my concerns to Mr. Thomas regarding the buffer for both visual and sound, and also the situation that I have about easement, and also the hopes that I have an adverse possession situation where a very small square footage, I don't know the exact amount, has actually been in use for over 45 years, and I'm hoping that I will have the option of purchasing it for a fair price, perhaps $1, since it's been used as such. Mr. Thomas does have a layout of a plat from a 2008 appraisal where it was necessary for me to do when they were constructing the road addition. Have no problem against any progress as long as it's handled properly, which we've been doing in the past, and I'm hoping you'll take this in consideration for me.
Thank you, Ms. Kay. The applicant, would you like to come forward at this point and make a presentation?
Hello, my name is Alan Shia.
Good to see you, Mr. Shia.
I represent the R207 and here to speak tonight. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board for this opportunity to speak to you. Basically, as we come to this rezoning case, there is a section that's a larger piece that we're asking to rezone from M1 to B1. And a lot of it has come from the conversation we've had with particular people that are interested in developing it in our property. And the thought is, you know, now we have McKesson there, we believe we'll have hopefully another type of facility much like that one in the area. We've had interest in extended stay hotels, other industries that would like to service that, food industries and so on. We have spoken with Mrs. Kay regarding this issue. We became more aware of it today and had opportunity earlier to speak to her, and we're willing to work with her to address her issue and hopefully come to a mutual agreement. She seems very agreeable. I think we'll find a term that she'll be happy with. I think currently in front of you gives her a temporary easement, and that in essence is to give us time so we can sit down and talk. I haven't physically seen how much encroachment she has, and as soon as we have that opportunity, we'll be able to move forward.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Shaw, we will continue the public hearing. If they have any questions, we'll